Welcome back from the break. You're watching NewsX. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. New developments have emerged in the Israel-Iran war, with Israel intensifying its air campaign against Lebanon today by launching a dozen strikes on the southern outskirts of Beirut, as well as targeting of a Palestinian refugee camp situated in the country's far north for the first time in this conflict. Well, according to a statement released by Hamas, the attack on the Bedawi refugee camp located near the northern Lebanese city of Tripoli resulted in the deaths of a Hamas military wing official, his spouse and their two young children. The strikes on Tripoli mark a significant expansion of Israel's operational range, as most of its previous attacks have focused on southern Lebanon and the capital of Beirut. Apart from this, a Syrian radio station has also reported that an Israeli drone strike on a car in central Syria killed one person and wounded three. Since the outbreak of the Israel-Hamas war in October of the previous year, Israel has targeted and eliminated several high-ranking Hamas officials in Lebanon, in addition to successfully neutralizing a majority of Hezbollah's top leadership. The two senior Hamas leaders in Lebanon were eliminated in two joint IDF and ISA operations. Meanwhile, the Iranian oil minister Mohsen Paknejad has reacted and said that he was not worried amidst the escalating tensions in the region. Speaking on his visit to Asalue Center for Iranian Installations, the world's largest offshore gas field, which Iran shares with Qatar across the Gulf, Paknejad referred to the trip as a simple work trip and said that he was not worried about the crisis that the enemies of the revolution were creating. Well, joining us live at this point is Pradeep Kapoor, former diplomat. We also have Major General Sanjay Meston, defense expert, live with us. Rupinder Sachdev, international affairs expert, also joins us live. Surinder Singh Lali, international affairs expert, is also joining the broadcast. Let me make a start with you first, Ambassador Kapoor. What do you make of this escalation in the conflict and the way now the war is taking?
This is a very serious turn of events in the Middle East, and it'll have even greater repercussions globally, because instead of de-escalating, the matters are going out of hand, and there are both very negative points to it and some good aspects to it also, in the sense that Israel, which had felt boxed in for a long time, is finally trying to break free from the conundrum of being surrounded by all these countries which were continuously bombarding it, destabilizing the northern portions, destabilizing the entire Gaza Strip adjacent to Israel, and creating complications in the West Bank also. So for it to sort of now launch an offensive and have had some successes in Lebanon also, and now wanting to expand it to a little bit into Lebanon and beyond Lebanon into Iran. So let us see how it evolves, because with the US firmly standing behind Israel, that is a very great support for Israel to tackle these forces, which are creating a lot of disruptions and terrorism, and continuously also creating problems for the shipping lanes, the Houthi rebels, the Syrian, Iraqi attacks on all the shipping and American forces, etc. So sitting here in Washington, D.C., I feel that it has come to an head. And so to that extent that, there may be some impact on the various forces which are inimical to peace. If they are controlled and if they sort of are impacted very significantly, it would be good for the world. But we have to see how the thing progresses from here, how the war progresses. Because if Israel wins, then it may be a good situation for all the forces fighting against terrorism. Back to you there.
Yes, and Major General Meston, come in here, because the escalation, of course, would be concerning. S. Jaishankar, our foreign affairs minister, has also spoken out. He said that such wars are not opportunities but causes of great concern. Major General Meston, how concerning is this latest turn in the war?
Uday, good evening. Definitely it is of great concern to everyone, including the region, including to, of course, our country. But I think I'll take on from Ambassador Pradeep. He had a very good sentence that Israel has been boxed in for so many years, and now, they want to get out of this silo or whatever it is. So from here, I would just state that Israel has probably got the golden opportunity now to eliminate the threat all around it, especially the so-called axis of resistance or the ring of fire, and especially also cut off the head, that is Iran. I think it's a golden opportunity for Israel. Somehow it is manifested after October 7 attack, but at a very grave cost to Israel on its reputation, on its economy, on its military power, on its very depleted manpower. Israel is a country where the strength of the armed forces is very less, and it relies more on the reservists. So at a very grave cost and at a grave risk, it is taking this, I would say, a task to eliminate this eliminate this threat, which is the axis of resistance. Now, I think they have evolved a strategy. See, most of us have a strategy of deterrence. The Israeli strategy is also of deterrence, but this is deterrence by denial. That means you have enough deterrence within your own capabilities, but you want to deny the enemy that power to be closer to you in terms of their bases, in terms of the location, in terms of the military equipment deployed, military wherewithal. And that is why now, if you see, they have gone in a very phased manner. Firstly, the Gaza, whatever they have done, we have all seen it, what has happened there. Now the next phase they are totally focusing is on Hezbollah front, the Lebanese front. And here again, the intent is very clear. They want two things simultaneously. One is, of course, targeting their entire command and control structure, and they have been successful in, I think, taking off the 10 to 12 top leaders, including some commanders of the IRGC who were functioning here. And even in the pager attack, the Iranian ambassador in Lebanon was injured. So this is clear, it reflects the Iranian involvement. Next is they are also, they want to rehabilitate their citizens who have been out of the northern Israel, almost 65,000 people. They want to get them back into their homes. And therefore now they are going in for a buffer zone up to the Litani River, which is again, let me tell you, at a grave cost. The ground offensive is not very easy. The terrain is not conducive for military operations there, but they have put their best elite troops, and even the area is not tankable. The tanks can only reach to a certain place. Thereafter, it is all thick jungles, thick rocks, the rocky areas, and extremely rugged terrain. Thereafter, once they cross the blue line, where the UNIFIL has replied, thereafter now they are planning to go to the villages, and that's why the villages in the southern Lebanon side, and that is why they have passed repeated orders to the people in southern Lebanon to vacate. Now, also they are taking on, the earliest reinforcements come from Syria, and therefore they have sorted out the Syria-Lebanon border. They are also taking on targets in Iraq, and of course Syria. Simultaneously, they are tackling Houthi, and with the latest bombardment of the destruction of the ship of UK, the American forces have now started targeting by the missiles on the Houthi. So it is all-round destruction of all their so-called militants or the axis of resistance. Now the final fountainhead or the epicenter, the center of gravity is Iran. And now I think they would gravitate gradually towards Iran. And once that happens, let me tell you, there is going to be counter strikes by Iran and of course Israel, and it's going to be a cyclic chain. And therefore, the question is, what will happen next? I think it will turn out of proportions. The United States definitely will be involved by its presence. The Central Command force headquarters, of course, is in Florida, but they have a forward base located in Qatar. And about 40,000 troops presently are already deployed in the entire Middle East, the US troops. And besides this, there is UK forces, Cyprus and all, they have moved in, I think, about 5,000 troops. So the entire area is, I would say, infested with the coalition troops. So Israel has that backing. Israel has military edge. It has technical advantage, technical prowess in terms of its missiles. And of course, the Iranian Air Force, I would say, is not too effective, and their air defense measures are, of course, too outdated, I would say. So Iran will get a thorough beating, but let me also state, Iran will also do a lot of counter strike. So it is going to be at a very, very grave cost to both Iran and Israel. But now for Israel, it is a question of survival, and for Iran, it is to show their credibility to this axis of resistance and to the world that they are a They want to be the leader of the Muslim world, which they will not be successful. Now, the impact would be whether it turns to a global war or a world war or a regional war. I think it will be limited to the, if you remember, Prime Minister Netanyahu had shown that in the United States General Assembly two maps, the
Yes.
blessings and the curses. I think the curse line as it is totally involved. US is now going to be involved, of course, indirectly and directly. Israel is going to be
All
involved.
right.
Iran is going to be
Yes, I'll
involved.
come back to you. I'll come back to you. Let's get in the others. Robinder Sachdev is also with us. Robinder, let me get you in here on your perspective on the turn this war has now taken. The conflict, of course, between Israel and Hezbollah now. Where do you believe the concentration of fighting is likely to be now in the days ahead? And also, as far as the Israel retaliation is concerned as well, is that also something that we're going to have to wait and watch on the action that they take against Iran as their Prime Minister has promised?
Thank you, sir. My view and my thesis, right from day one of October 7, and I think General Meston may remember, or some of our colleagues, we were often together within those weeks. My thesis then was and is and will be, this war will go to Iran. This has to go to Iran. Even before Gaza, notwithstanding the Gaza attack of Hamas, Netanyahu and Israel had decided that they will never let Israel become a nuclear weapon state. One, right, for a broad understanding. They were pressing America to be more, to tighten the screws on Iran, the nuclear deal, etc. But that was a clear intent. Never Iran should have a nuclear weapon. So even if the Gaza war had not happened in the last 1 year, we would have seen some situation within the last 1 year or coming soon where Israel would be positioning to attack Iran's nuclear research facilities, right? The uranium, etc. Now the point is, Iran then was said to be, is now said to be very near to enriching the fuel. Whether it can mount that on, the missiles, to have the engineering to launch, that is a different matter. But that. So this war has to logically go there. Israel has to escalate, and in between, after about 6 months, my understanding was that Israel is stuck in Gaza and Israel is going to create a diversion, distraction, and it needs that. It wants that, Hezbollah. And of course, Hezbollah was troubling it, reaching to Iran. But you see, the point is, this won't even end with Israel, attacking Iran's nuclear research, establishments, labs, or wherever they imagine they are. It would need to end with a regime change in Iran. As General Meston said, as Ambassador Kapoor was saying, even if you blast out, let's say, the Iranian nuclear research labs, how could you be sure that in a few years again, something else, or the leadership which is there, will continue to bolster Houthis, Hezbollah? Hezbollah won't die away. Okay, Hamas, dead, but Hamas is a festering sore. How will Israel manage that? Hezbollah, sure, take out the leadership, dominate them on the ground, etc., do everything. It will fester. So unless there is a regime change in Iran, there will be no win, as Ambassador Kapoor was saying, a win. There will be no win for Israel. And in that whole, approach, the US has to be drawn in. So unfortunately, that's what I think it is heading. When and how is only a matter of time. One. Secondly, talking with respect to the US, yes, but pretty interesting, there are two things with respect to the US I see right now what are happening. One, Netanyahu is not agreeing to any ceasefire, etc., and thereby he is helping Trump. And he's doing that intentionally, even if he wanted to do a ceasefire. Because if there is no ceasefire, if the Middle East is on fire, it's a foreign policy failure of Biden and Harris administration. And that gives Trump's points to hammer Biden. So Netanyahu is helping Trump. Very intentionally, if one could say. It may be a coincidence that the two things are separate. The war goes to its own rhythm, right? I agree. But it's having that impact. And secondly, the November elections of the US, I do think, can be if not a milestone, a flag. If Trump wins, then yes, Netanyahu has all the, has a free hand to keep going and doing and maybe do more. But if Harris wins, then Israel could be in would be roped in. It will be a new administration, not beholden to any, electoral situations. And they would, and Harris has said that apart from other things, that they've clearly said a two-state solution. Okay. So if a Harris victory is there in the US, Israel would have to change its course. Okay, Israel may still continue to be charting its own course, depending and counting upon public opinion support in the US and in the US Congress. But do remember, within the US and within the US Congress also, there are deep divisions. There are deep divisions with the Jewish community also. It's not that everyone is supporting Netanyahu. They support Israel, yes. But what Netanyahu is doing, many Jews, Jewish, whatever, etc., are opposed to that. So I do think that within a month of now, the results of the US election would definitely kind of, temper or shape the future of how Israel is going on ahead. So these are my few thoughts. But lastly, quick point, I do think that, as General Minister was saying, that, yes, Israel has dominance in the air and everything else. But I think the biggest dominance which Israel has created is intelligence. Within the Iranian IRGC or within the Hezbollah, in fact, Ahmadinejad, the ex-president, has said that
Yes.
the top 20 people
Yes.
of our anti-Mossad group were Mossad agents.
Okay, so that's something we're going to, of course, have to keep a close eye on. Let me get in Surinder Singh Lali as well. Surinder Singh Lali, what's the Indian viewpoint on this escalation in the conflict? And also, as far as things go, which direction are they headed according to you?
Uday, I'd start from where Ambassador Kapoor opened up, that Israel was earlier boxed in, but I think now hubris has taken over. Because, after the October 7th, Israel was, I'm sorry if I may use that expression, really shit-faced, so was Mossad. And now with the unconditional support of America, and America being in a limbo, lame duck position, Netanyahu knows that if he has to salvage whatever he has to salvage, by the way, some of it, and if he has to do any more, he only has a month's, time frame. As Mr. Robin Sachdev also said, that it's the elections that will decide which way this is going to go to. But from what General Saab said, that it's going to gravitate towards Iran, and it's a golden opportunity. I don't know. I mean, is regime change that easy a thing? A country, which is the size of Iran, 10 crore people, and this is a large society, and resilience comes in, especially when you have an established enemy over the last 70 years of the state of Israel. I'm not too sure the regime change would be any easier than it would have been maybe earlier, because, people tend to unite, and that's probably the worst kept secret, that, what do politicians do? They raise the bogey of their enemy country, and the country tends to unite. And I don't know, the last time Americans tried a regime change in Afghanistan or Iraq, what happened? And on top of that, we still have to factor in that Russia and China are also, watching and maybe behind the curtain, because, first of all, Russia is happy that some of the focus is going to shift finally from the mess that has been going on for 2 years between Ukraine. And now China, why would China want a NATO 32 countries coalition, which it is loggerheads with, wanting to get into the Indo-Pacific, allow them to come in Iran, because it's Iran is a very, very important country, just because of not the oil reserves and the size and everything, but also because of the geopolitical location. So I don't know, maybe it is my pessimism, but I don't see that this regime change is going to be that easy. And the countries which are so far away, so difficult to fight, they can, they're fighting the proxies now, and the Palestine issue is probably back on the back burner. How do two countries fight when they're probably 1,800 kilometers away? And if, like Trump has been pushing and provoking, if Netanyahu gets more over ambitious and goes for the oil reserves or something on those lines, it's going to, as they say in America, it's going to hit the fan even more, because then Iran's going to start hitting other countries, and there goes the global supply chain and the energies and the inflation. So I have a feeling that this is going to escalate more, only to de-escalate, because both these countries also in the longer run, given the kind of economies they have and the position and the elections and the vulnerabilities, this was not going to go for too far. And believe me, this is my optimism against the pessimism which I see on a lot of TV debates. It is only going to escalate more till regime change happens, especially in the United States. And I think things are going to improve purely because they're 1,800 miles away. And how much can they fight? I mean, I'm not sure that nuclear option is that easier said than done, and if Netanyahu or Iran's going to do that. So I don't know. I'm a bit confused myself, and I'd love these gentlemen to enlighten me that what is a logical solution to this 70-year-old problem, which has been a subterranean problem in nature. Earlier it was the Arab versus the Israelis, and now it has narrowed down to, the Israel versus Iran. So this conflict is going on for too long, and my 2 cents, if I was to exceed my pay grade and say that they might want to look at the Kashmir issue, like how we've handled, because allow me to just 1 minute to complete, but 40,000 people, died with 70% of kids and women. They're not going to get up and, grow up to send, flowers from ferns and petals to each other's country. So I don't think killing these heads would actually amount in, eradicating them. I mean, there are people who are headless chickens. More will be born. So this only solution would be the two-state solution, which I'm sure sounds absolutely absurd.
How do we look at ensuring peace in the region, Ambassador Kapoor? How are we going to work in that direction? And by we, of course, I mean India, but also the world at large.
Well, that is currently a very, very difficult question, because if the, like the other speakers have also mentioned, it depends entirely on the US. The US holds the key, and the elections in the US will also be a very decisive factor. So for India or for other countries, because China and Russia are very happy that this war expand and this war continue, and that there is some diversion away from Taiwan, from the Indo-Pacific, from the Indian Ocean, from the Russia-Ukraine war, and there is a good amount of distraction for the US Congress and the US polity. So for them it plays out very well. So they are not going to work towards peace. So countries like India and all do not have that heft or the clout. If the US wants it to continue, beyond November 8th, after the elections are deciding who's going to come into power, it will continue. If Trump comes in, if Harris comes in, then Israel is in for some serious amount of rethink and reset of the issues, and that'll have to be recalibrated completely at that stage. Back to you, Uday.
All right, let me go back to Major General Meston for a quick closing comment on the way forward, of course, Major General Meston, but also where you believe, the concentration of now the strikes and the aggression by Israel is going to be.
Apparently the concentration of strikes after diversion from Hezbollah, once they have achieved their most of the strategic objectives in eliminating the command control and easing of the ground offensive by softening the target, I think then the focus would obviously be on Iran, and of course to some extent on Houthi. But it will be maximum on Iran. And I think Ladi got me wrong. I did not state regime change. In fact, I stated that it will be a lot of damage both to Israel and Iran. And it's just going to have a cyclic effect. It is not going to stop. I do not know how it is going to stop. It's just going to have a great damage, great cost, grave cost to both the countries in terms of everything: manpower losses, infrastructure losses, gas and oil resources, everything, and to the world it will matter. So I think none of us can predict, including Netanyahu, as to how this war will end and where it is heading to. So it's going to spiral out of control. Let me be very candid. It's going to spiral out of control, and of course, diplomacy will be the last resort, but it will be at a very, very grave cost. There will be very, very extensive damage to both the countries, to both the nations, and I think they will realize that there was a better way out to deal with it, and the Indian way of dealing is of course the dialogue and diplomacy. War is definitely not the solution, but I think the realization will only come after this intense fighting and loss of lives and everything. So that is what I would like to close my remark, and it's going to be a tough call, and yes, it's going to have ramifications on the other nations. To India also it will have, but the saving grace is, of course, if the oil facilities are to get hit. For us, Russia wants us to be in their camp. So I think the Russian oil will continue, maybe at the same price or at a little higher price, but the West and the other countries will suffer more with the oil. Probably our advantages, since Russia wants us in their camp and now BRICS is going to happen, probably the oil prices may not hit, though many analysts feel that even India will be hit by the oil prices. Uday.
All right, let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on the broadcast. We've run completely out of time. Let's slip into a short break.
सर, हा माझा CV. तुमचा CV खूप चांगला आहे, पण आम्ही फ्रेशर्सना काम देऊ शकत नाही. आई वडिलांच्या या इच्छा आम्ही कधी पूर्ण करू शकेन का?
प्रगतीचा ध्यास घे तू, विकासाची कास घे तू, शिक्षण आणि प्रशिक्षण घे तू, परिश्रमाचे वेतन घे तू, नव्या महाराष्ट्राचा घे तू विचार, कुशल युवकांचे स्वप्न साकार.
कुशल महाराष्ट्र, रोजगारक्षम महाराष्ट्र.
वो मिस्टर विकास की फाइल आप पॉलिसी बाजार. मैम, आपका हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस क्लेम अप्रूव हो गया है. अब आप सर को घर ले जा सकती हैं.
क्लेम के टाइम पे हमेशा आपकी हेल्प को तैयार. पॉलिसी बाजार. 1 करोड़ का हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 390 रुपए महीने से शुरू.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने.
MDH का किचन किंग किचन में हो तो हम सब कुछ बना सकते हैं. बैंगन का भरता, आलू गोभी, भिंडी मसाला और भी बहुत कुछ.
MDH